Good morning. My name is Jen DeMod, and I am with the Manufacturing Growth Alliance, also known as MGA. Our mission is to support small manufacturers across the state. Thank you for being part of our conversation. Digital technologies are impacting all manufacturers. The pandemic has accelerated the need for small manufacturers, medium and small, to learn, access resources, and implement Industry 4.0 technologies to solve workforce challenges, increase efficiencies, and stay competitive. We have a full agenda for you this morning. We will hear from a number of organizations who are paving the path for small manufacturers to become equipped to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies. We will also hear from a manufacturer in the Upper Peninsula about their journey with Industry 4.0. Our presenters will take about 40 to 45 minutes in total to share. You can place questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will make sure to respond to all the questions. We are recording the conversation today to share with the individuals who registered for this webinar, as well as other manufacturers in the Upper Peninsula and Northeast region. First on the agenda is Natalie Chimico, Vice President of Pure Michigan Business Connect and International Trade at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. She will share insights into Michigan's Industry 4.0 initiative. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks, Jen. Good morning, and thanks for having me. So today I'm here to discuss an exciting new multi-pronged initiative that was launched at the state level to support Michigan small and medium-sized manufacturers to become Industry 4.0 ready. Next slide, please. As you already know, around the globe, Michigan is synonymous with manufacturing, but in order for Michigan to remain competitive and successful in the future of manufacturing, we must be the most advanced and productive, positioning our workforce and our companies at the forefront of technology. And during our statewide economic development strategy process back in 2019, we recognized that we need to prepare our small and medium-sized manufacturers for the digital transformation that is already underway. And since the pandemic, it has only accelerated the need for the transformation. Next slide. In a national study shown here, only 12% of small and medium-sized manufacturers said that they were very prepared to adopt Industry 4.0 technologies. And with the remaining saying that they are somewhat prepared, a little prepared, or not prepared at all, this presents a big problem when it comes to the future of our manufacturing industry. The convergence of digital and physical technologies require new ways of thinking and working. And if we don't prepare for the onset of Industry 4.0 today, here in Michigan, a staggering 42% of our current labor force could be impacted by automation. Next slide. So how are we taking this potential risk and turning it into an opportunity for Michigan to become a national leader in this space? So we've established a multi-pronged effort to support businesses along their digital transformation journey. So our ambitious goal is to ensure 50% of all Michigan manufacturers, or 6,200 businesses, will be prepared to adopt Industry 4.0 by 2025. Next slide. So in order to support manufacturers statewide, we have built upon our partnership with two existing leaders to provide support services no matter where a company is on their journey to become Industry 4.0 ready. And you'll hear from those two leaders later on in today's discussion. Our partnership with Automation Alley is all about awareness. Automation Alley is the Industry 4.0 Knowledge Center, helping companies understand what this shift means for business and culture. And because of our enhanced partnership, all manufacturers in the state have access to their education, their leadership evaluation, and resources. And then to complement our work with Automation Alley, the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center is providing in-depth technology assessments for small and medium-sized manufacturers, recommending the Industry 4.0 technologies best suited for profitability, improvement, and job retention for each unique business. Additionally, they are providing the opportunity for companies to see technologies firsthand through their roadshows. And at the same time, we will continue to address that proven lack of awareness of the impact and the importance of Industry 4.0 preparedness across the state through a comprehensive paid marketing campaign, encouraging small and medium-sized manufacturers in the state of Michigan to become better prepared for the future industry trends and growth. Next slide. In addition to our partnership with Automation Alley and MMTC, we also wanted to support regional programming and initiatives. And these regional partners are providing education, pilot grants, events, and webinars, increasing the overall awareness and preparedness of their different areas of the state. And you'll see the Manufacturing Growth Alliance as part of this group, which is why we're connecting today. Next slide. So with this 5-year strategy to support manufacturers throughout the state, we are partnering at the state level, providing consistent services available for all Michigan manufacturers. We're partnering with the regional organizations, providing local opportunities to grow the industry based on targeted needs. And then we're executing the marketing campaign, generating awareness that we're here to support companies throughout the digital transformation. So through these partnerships, awareness and education, we're continuing to reinforce our state's value proposition and leadership in advanced manufacturing and the jobs it supports for years to come. So for more information about this initiative, please visit michiganbusiness.org/industry4-0. And next, I will turn it over to Eric Davis, Technology Investment Analyst at Automation Alley, to talk about what Industry 4.0 is.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. So to understand Industry 4.0, we kind of have to take a step back and look at what were the previous industries. And, you know, when people think of Industry 4.0, they think of smart manufacturing. We've heard the word digital twins used. Automation is also synonymous with Industry 4.0, but it's much more than that. But when we look at the first industrial revolution, right, we start incorporating steam power, we start using machines to help increase the amount of efficiency. So we're breaking away from just human power and animal-based power, and we're actually starting to build something on our own using some sort of energy. Next, we get Industry 2.0, and this is where we get into the assembly line that Ford invented. We get into more mass production of canned goods, those types of things. And we're starting to incorporate electrical energy, so we're able to distribute it across a network of residential areas, industrial areas, commercial areas, et cetera. Next, once you get into the 1960s and 70s, that's where you get into Industry 3.0. And that's where we start incorporating some computers into the work processes. So you see some automation on the factory floor, some connectiveness, but it's not necessarily at the level of where we get to Industry 4.0, which is really you have a truly connected workspace. All parts areas of your business are connected and they're all working in sync. And so when we break that down a little bit further, we break it down into 8 different sectors when we look at Industry 4.0. So the first sector is additive manufacturing, and this is looking at things that are 3D printed. So think of parts that are printed with metal, they could be printed with plastic, unique polymers. We've even seen some people 3D print chocolate and gold. So the technology here is growing quite a bit, but the idea is it breaks away from subtractive manufacturing where you have a piece of metal and you're basically breaking it down into a part or finishing it down into a part, where this is just taking something and adding it together. The next piece is artificial intelligence. So this is taking human-like tasks and allowing a computer program to do those activities. Now, it's not going to be able to do the really high-level stuff that we can do on a daily basis, but it might be able to do things like recognizing an object in front of it and whether or not to pick it up, move to the side, or just leave it alone. The next sector we look at is big data. So this is aggregating all the data that we have and analyzing it and trying to figure out what efficiencies can we get either on the factory floor or maybe in the way we deal with our customers. The next sector we look at is cloud computing. So this is basically like the infrastructure or the hardware that we usually store our information. So if you think of back in the day, and even some businesses still today have servers on their own premises, this is taking that and then putting it into a third-party server outside. So that way you can get connected to other applications. The next piece is cybersecurity. So this is something a lot of people know. This is basically protecting your machines from any sort of cyber attacks. So usually we think about email phishing and those types of things, which is pretty common. There's also, as we're seeing, recently in some of our manufacturing spaces, cyber attacks at the manufacturing floor, where the actual machines, because they are connected to a network, they are being attacked and vulnerable. And so these technologies are focused on making sure that production doesn't get stopped from some nefarious activities. The next we look at is modeling, simulation, visualization, and immersion. So think of augmented reality, virtual reality. How this relates to the manufacturing floor is we can use these to either improve quality control for the workers. We can improve training for the workers. So there's a lot of different applications for that. Next, we have, highly efficient robotics. So think of robotics that are used in automated processes. You can also think of something called cobots, which are essentially robotics, but they use a few different other technologies to allow it to work with humans, so it can make sure that it doesn't, hit the human. They can work and play together, and it helps take away some of the more mundane activities that a human may find laborious. And then the last piece is industrial Internet of Things. So think of sensors that are put onto your machines that are connected to the cloud. And so when you think about all these technologies together, they're not in a silo when you do an Industry 4.0 application. You could have an additive manufacturing machine that has sensors on it to let you know when it's breaking down, or whether you want to figure out some efficiencies. That's feeding up into a cloud server that's doing some analysis. Another application could be you have a robotics or a cobot that's going across and picking up things and putting it into a certain space. That's using visualization, that's using artificial intelligence, that has industrial Internet of Things. So when we look at Industry 4.0, it's not just one sector, but all these different sectors working together. And a lot of companies that we come across may have already been doing stuff in Industry 4.0. So our goal is really to just kind of highlight what are all the possibilities that you can use in your own manufacturing floor, and then also in the other parts of your business, such as the marketing, the sales, and even automating some of the financial processes. So next, I would like to hand it over to Todd Broussard. We're going to play a clip from him. He is the VP and COO of Calumet Electronics.
And so just briefly, Todd was unable to join us today, so hopefully this will provide you some insight into Industry 4.0.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Jen, we're not getting audio.
Herculean
There we go.
undertaking. Just a little bit about our company. We're Calumet Electronics. We make printed circuit boards and soon IC substrates for microelectronics. We're located in the northernmost part of the Upper Peninsula, so we're pretty far from supply chain. And we're doing interesting things and interesting technologies that we believe as a Michigan company, we're going to outpace things that are going on in California and even Silicon Valley. We are a technology industry. I'm an electrical engineer. I'm a computer programmer. I'm a geek. I love robots, and I read sci-fi books. So I can imagine this Industry 4.0 that's coming. And yet I sit as an operations manager, a COO of a small manufacturing business. And I'm like, how do we get there, right? Let's talk about automation for 1 second. Let's say, the fourth industrial revolution and, factory 4.0 and smart factories, it's all about automation, right? And Asia's doing that really well. They build 500,000 iPhones a day, and it's all about the automation. But what are our customers domestically or in the United States asking for. You know, they're not necessarily asking us for, you know, this huge amount of volume, which adapts very, very nicely to automation. You know, we're being asked to manufacture a low quantity of a very complex design, which can pivot during the manufacturing process. And if we know anything about automation and robots and scripting and programming, is once it's programmed, it doesn't change really until somebody comes along and makes those changes. So are our customers asking us for advanced automation, or are they asking us for advanced products, which you may or may not use advanced automation to do? So we know that most of this manufacturing that we've lost to Asia isn't coming back. They're too far ahead. So how do we, as manufacturers, small manufacturers in the United States, actually become competitive? How does the United States become self-reliant? How do we, right now, it's something on the order of like 90% of you know, advanced electronics, they're coming out of Asia, right? And then that kind of is a security risk to our country. And that's part of the things that we're working to figure out how to solve. So the question really becomes, are we really trying to build a smart factory at Calumet Electronics, or are we really just trying to build like a factory of the future? And there's a lot of different ways that that can actually be defined. One of the things that we're interested in is, in Michigan, if we can make Ford F-150s at a great pace, what does it look like to make, the low orbit satellites, that are going to be used for, broadband communication and those types of things. So we, as a company in Michigan, are struggling, with this idea of how do we you don't get to start from scratch. We're a going concern. We ship 4 million circuit boards a year out of this facility. We can't stop producing for a day. So what are the steps? How do we become more competitive? How do we leverage automation? Right. Part of where we think we would start, or that we have started, is with simply putting barcodes on all of our products and allowing the machinery that normally you have, a human that goes in and hopefully types in the right part number or the right recipe into the machine. Instead, there's some sort of a scanner on this machine that the part comes in and it can see that, and then it can automatically load up the right program or automatically do the right things. Something else that is really capturing our interest, we are engaged with some DoD primes, with IPC, which is our main trade organization, and other businesses to try to take initiatives to take this kind of manual industry that making circuit boards is and make advancements. Digital transformation, augmented reality, where they're having a problem with a piece of electronics in another country, and everybody in the supply chain can put on the headset and everybody's seeing the same thing. And we can figure out that the tier 2 provider put a screw here, which is interfering with a circuit that the tier 4 provider put here, and we can all be on the same conversation. Those are the kinds of concepts that are being actively explored. But a little closer to home is this idea that we have manufacturing equipment. We have PLCs that are running $27 million worth of computer hardware that goes all the way 20 years old to just brand new. Is that we can begin to put these sensor systems that we actually put on top of the PLCs so that they can see everything the PLC is doing. They can read all the sensor data, and they can take that information and build up basically large data sets of information, which can then be used to make decisions or detect problems. So I think I'll kind of finish up. I don't want to go too long here, but with one example is we have a wet process line that does something to make a circuit board. It's got 10 steps in it, and each one of those steps we do statistical process control on. We need to monitor 3 to 8 parameters in each one of these chemical baths, and we need to understand a lot about it. We can have every single module in this unit give all green lights, yet somehow a product that comes out the back end is non-conforming. And the question is why is that? Well, maybe the third process is in spec, but it's actually running, at a tolerance it's running at the bottom end of the spec, And this process down here is running at the top end of the spec. So even though both processes are in spec, this misalignment across the entire machine is creating a kind of a boundary condition that can result in nonconformance. So what might we do? Well, we might use an industrial standard like CFX, Connected Factory Exchange, to pull information from that system and then feed it to an AI signature just like facial recognition, except you're not recognizing a face. What you're recognizing is the statistical process of these various processes. And then you do signature recognition. You basically say, when we're making good product, because we've been training the system, good product, when something comes out that could be a bad product, the system can recognize that. So then it can alert us. It can say, hey, guys, across this particular machine, which is a legacy machine that's been overlaid with a data acquisition system for statistical process control, we can take that data, do AI analysis, and it's going to tell us, hey, you're probably making bad product right now. You just can't see it using the traditional methods. So that's an example, I feel, of something that is obtainable or doable, for a manual factory to start taking those kinds of steps forward. And I guess I'll stop there.
Okay, can you see the slide deck again?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Todd again wasn't able to join us today, but his comments are very relevant to small to medium-sized manufacturers in Michigan, and we so appreciate him taking the time to be with us last week and being able to record his comments. So Todd, you're not here, but thank you. Next, I'll introduce Betsy Williams, who is the Senior Business Development Advisor with the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, also known as the Center. She is going to share with us MMTC's Technology Opportunity Assessment.
Thanks, Jen. And Todd just sort of said it. How do we get there with Industry 4.0? There's so many questions. And how do we stay competitive? And I know that's something at Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center where we are celebrating 30 years of assisting small to medium-sized manufacturers that we hear a lot about. And we are so glad to be in partnership to talk about the assessment, the Technology Opportunity Assessment. Again, as Jen said, my name is Betsy Williams. We have 5 offices statewide. We can easily get to and collaborate with manufacturers throughout the state of Michigan. And also Kristen Smith is here as well. She represents the Upper Peninsula, and we partnership and collaborate as joint calls going out and talking to manufacturers about assessments. So what is the Technology Opportunity Assessment all about? Well, it's really twofold. It determines if the application of technology can be used to drive measurable impacts to your business, and also to identify business opportunities for improvement to your current systems. And we do that by, first of all, starting with an online assessment where we're capturing data, because that's really going to tell the whole story, because we want to hear from the voice of the customer and also the voice of the business. So that gives us information. Then we come on site. We have experts. As a matter of fact, Kevin and Rob of our team are on site doing technology opportunity assessments today. So they are on site for 2 to 3 hours, and it's all about a conversation. There's a tour of the facility. It takes about 2 hours, but usually we're there about 3 hours because we like to really understand the business. And we cover a variety of topics from leadership practices, workforce development, current facility with technology. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then after that, we come back and put together a report that we feel is very, very important. The report's really meant to get the conversation going within your organization about what opportunities there are for technology. We do not come in and we're not provider of the different solutions, but we certainly know partners and can make suggestions to you. So the report is in depth. It comes back to you, and again, it's all meant to start the conversation. And again, we're just excited to partner and be a part of this, because Industry 4.0 is, as Todd said, is what it's going to take to keep manufacturing competitive. So thank you very much. We're here and available as you start this journey, and I'll turn things back over to Eric. Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy. So when we talk about the leadership evaluation, we base this off of the Industry 4.0 assessment that we do at Automation Alley, but we wanted to do something that we could get to as many manufacturers as possible. The other one's a little more of an intense process, where this is more so giving a high level look at the business and trying to figure out, how do I connect my Industry 4.0 or technology decisions to the business decisions that I make day in and day out? And so when we did a research study with Lawrence Tech University, Centropolis, and ourselves, and we went around the state and we asked manufacturers, what are the biggest roadblocks that you have to implementing Industry 4.0? And there are a few themes that came clear. There was a lack of awareness of what actually is Industry 4.0. And then there was a culture or management that, and even at both levels, management and laborers, that just weren't connecting on how Industry 4.0 can fit with their business, and how do they make sure that they're taking the right risks and opportunities and making the right decisions. And then that feeds into the financial side. If we don't understand what it is, if we don't have the culture to support it, then we can't understand how to get a right return on our investment. And this is what the leadership evaluation is designed for. It's designed to connect that business side to the Industry 4.0 side. And we do it through a simple form. So you can go online and there will be information at the end of this that will point you to some of those resources. And you can also access on MEDC's website as well. And you'll go through a simple form. It's a few questions. It may take you a little while to think about it, but they're just quantitative, 1 through 10. And as you go through, think about your business and how you view things. And this is going to be done by either someone at the executive level or maybe at a senior management position. And then once you fill out all that information, we take that information and in real time, we calculate your answers based on all of the responses that we've gotten through our assessment and other leadership evaluations by other Michigan manufacturers. So you're basically getting a real-time comparison of what your company looks like compared to what other Michigan manufacturers look like. And so when you get that report, it'll kind of take you through some different key metrics. So first you'll get an understanding of how complicated is my business and, what kind of risks are associated with that. So the more you go after different types of revenue models, different types of products, that can add complexity to the business, but it can also defend you against any market effects where, one company, one of your major customers goes down, that can really have a big impact on the business. So this is just designed to understand how do these different decisions that we make to go after products or services, how does that affect our company, right? And so you look at it and say, okay, I see that my company has got about a medium complexity, but it feels like we're dealing with a lot of stuff. So that's where we get into the next part, where we look at the business side. So we look at what type of culture is going on in the organization, how is the strategy being reviewed and looked at, and then how is that strategy then being executed in the day-to-day. And so these are the ways to help mitigate that complexity and help the company make better decisions, to help move profit, get cash flow flowing much better, and also make better decisions technology-wise. And so you'll get an idea of, okay, what is my reality based on the reality of what other manufacturers have said with similar scores, and then do those two realities align? And if they don't, exercises at the end of this report will help get you towards that resolution. And then the next step we look at is we take a look at all the competitive advantages that you state that you have, and we look at what are some of the digital opportunities that you can take, right? So these are Industry 4.0 technologies that maybe you can implement in your organization. And it doesn't have to be just on the manufacturing floor. It could be in the marketing side. It could be maybe you built some automation between the sales and operations, so there's a cleaner handoff between the two. There's many different ways we can go about doing this. And so this is a way for you to understand, what are the strengths that I already have and how do I make them even better? And then we talk about what are the two different types of investments. You can either make a defensive investment that will allow you to stay competitive, maintain your strengths, But then there's also got to be times where you need to make an offensive bet. And that's where Industry 4.0 can really help out, where you're looking to make maybe smaller bets. You're not very sure of what the long-term payoff is going to be, but you know you got to get somewhere down that line to build efficiencies, increase revenue opportunities. And so flipping that mindset of understanding, where can I make more offensive bets on less mission critical parts of the business, and then parts of the business where I know I can't touch, they have to be staying running, 24/7 or, all the times, and they can't break down. How do I make sure I don't make those types of decisions on that side of the business? And then when we bring it all together, we go back to those exercises, and essentially we're trying to figure out, when we look at our business, what are the issues and opportunities that we're uncovering, and how can we use Industry 4.0 technology to understand it? And the idea is, if I can understand my business, I can then understand the technology that I can implement in my business. And so when you go to a technology provider who's, might show you a fancy presentation or something like that, you can pick out the key words and you can understand what the product is that they're selling, and you can better implement it in your company, or you can politely tell them no, and you can feel confident doing that. So that's what the leadership evaluation is designed to do. It's designed to help connect the business side to the Industry 4.0 side. And then along with that that leadership evaluation, you also be given access to some of the resources like Betsy talked about, to MMTC's leadership evaluation. So there'll be some links to that, and also MEDC resources as well. So the idea is we want you to do both, right? So the leadership evaluation fits greatly into the technology assessment that they do over MMTC, where you can get understanding of your business and then do an even deeper dive at MMTC. And then also, along with the leadership evaluation, you get our essential membership, where you get access to all of our Industry 4.0 Knowledge Center. You'll be able to collaborate with a network, share war stories on what's worked and what's not worked. And then also you get a free ticket to our annual conference, Integrate, where we have technology providers and manufacturers come together to talk about what's new in Industry 4.0 and how it can help you out. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Stephanie Ludwig of the Economic Growth Institute. She's the project manager. So thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you. So good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Ludwig, a project manager at the Economic Growth Institute, or EGI, at the University of Michigan. EGI has been working with small to medium-sized manufacturers across the state of Michigan for more than 35 years, and we are thrilled to be here today partnering with MGA in one of the regional Industry 4.0 efforts Natalie mentioned earlier, to support small manufacturers in Northeast Michigan and the Upper Peninsula in increasing awareness and preparedness of Industry 4.0. Next slide, please. So through a series of activities, including educational webinars, company analysis, and technical assistance projects, MGA and EGI will work to ensure manufacturers in Northeast Michigan and the Upper Peninsula have the foundational and practical knowledge to move forward with implementing elements of Industry 4.0 to ensure that they remain competitive in years to come. In all of our history of running programs to support SMMs, what gets your attention most is when there is funding available to help you. So in our regional program, we will qualify a limited number of companies with high potential projects for a $10,000 grant in matching funds towards the implementation of one of the identified Industry 4.0 projects. Next slide. So next, I'd like to tell you a little more about what activities we will be running in this regional program that can help prepare you to best utilize that $10,000. Next slide. First, through a series of educational webinars, we will look to introduce you to all of the Industry 4.0 technologies that we have seen many of our manufacturing clients successfully implement and prove effective. Here you will hear about the real-world applications from manufacturers just like yourselves, and be connected to resources to support the next steps in evaluating these technologies, to see if these technologies could be the resources you are looking for to address a current need or to set your company apart from its competition. Next slide. After you get a chance to listen to these educational webinars, you might find yourself asking, how do I know if my company is ready to implement some of these technologies? In phase 2 of the MGA EGI regional partnership, EGI will conduct a top-down analysis of the company after, of course, signing a non-disclosure agreement to ensure your company's data is protected and excluded from the Freedom of Information Act. EGI conducts a detailed financial analysis of the company, including a ratio analysis and company valuation. Have you ever wondered recently what your company would be valued at? EGI's analysis will not only help you better understand its value, but this analysis allows us to see into the firm's stability and strength and financial aptitude to handle and integrate new tech. So for companies that have financial stability and aptitude, EGI then conducts an operational analysis to further evaluate other areas of their business critical to tech integration. This would be leadership, sales, planning, marketing, people, operations. We do this while touring your facility, and both the financial and operational analysis are done at no cost to you and with very minimal time commitment. EGI's output of phase 2 is a level set of recommendations to increase the firm's value and recommendations for high leverage points for Industry 4.0 adoption that will be recommended as implementation projects to use that $10,000 on. Next slide. To implement the high leverage point Industry 4.0 projects, our team will find the best resources for you to implement this project and will project manage its implementation alongside your team. If you are interested in qualifying for the $10,000, please contact us to talk about what those next steps look like. Next slide. With that, we are looking forward to engaging with those of you on the information session today and in the near future. Now I'd like to turn this over to Bill Raymond, the Chief Executive Officer for the Upper Peninsula Michigan Works, who will talk about the regional partnerships.
Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate it. I'm learning a lot here, as Stephanie said, I'm the CEO of UP Michigan Works, which covers all 15 counties in the Upper Peninsula, so we can work with any of the companies that are interested in this, but we're specifically working on the talent end of things. And of course, talent is a huge issue all over the country right now, but this is a priority for us in helping manufacturers get engaged with Industry 4.0. And there's a lot of various partners throughout the state, obviously, and then in the Upper Peninsula, you'll see all of these groups that are coming together to support manufacturers in this process. The primary part of Michigan Works here is you may have employees who need specific training in some of these technologies. And that's where we come in. We have pulled in quite a bit of money over the last few months. The UP has gotten about $4 million that we've received through state and federal sources that can be used for training for people in your organizations, especially if you want to move in this direction. I mean, then you can contact us so that we can provide some support so you can upskill your people. You may have heard of the Going Pro process. Calumet Electronics, you heard Todd talk about that, where we've helped them through the Going Pro process. We also have some Going Pro money that's called industry-led collaboratives. And there's one in cybersecurity. So 3 small businesses are taking advantage of that to beef up their cybersecurity process. And that's through the Cybersecurity Institute out of in Marquette, but which really works UP-wide, so a lot of new resources coming online. We've got money for expanded apprenticeships for companies that want to take advantage of that. And one of the nice things about that is that we can act as an intermediary. So all of the bureaucracy and paperwork that typically go with apprenticeships, we can run interference for that and take care of that for people behind the scenes. So you can focus on running your business and getting up to speed on the technologies that you need to be more effective and productive. We're working closely with universities and community colleges in the UP, Michigan Tech, Northern, Lake State, Bay and Gogebic community colleges We worked with the smart zones. Invest UP, you'll see listed here. We work closely with them, the local economic developers. So if you have questions, we have contact with those groups sometimes daily and especially weekly basis. So there's a lot of good integration. So we're sharing that business intelligence, so to speak, so we can help you. And we want to have that be as streamlined process as possible, so you can make the connections that you need to make and have the resources that you need to make. So if you have talent needs regarding this, please don't hesitate to contact Michigan Works. And we look forward to collaborating with you as partners and all of the other partners that you see here, because together we can, I think, really make a difference in the Upper Peninsula, especially in the manufacturing sector, which really has the good paying jobs that we need to grow the Upper Peninsula economy. So thanks for that. And I think at this point, I'll turn it back over to Jen.
Thank you so much, Bill, not only for sharing this morning, but also your partnership in moving Industry 4.0 forward in the Upper Peninsula. So I get to share briefly about some next steps for small manufacturers in the Upper Peninsula and Northeast region. So there are a variety of options for manufacturers. We recommend that you start with participating in the Industry 4.0 webinars. There are a number of webinars that are scheduled in the upcoming months. The next one for the Upper Peninsula and Northeast region is scheduled for June 29 at 9 a.m. And the webinar will share insights on advanced technologies such as AR/VR, analytics, and additive manufacturing. We also encourage you to take advantage of the 2 statewide resources. Again, that's the Leadership Evaluation with Automation Alley and the Technology Opportunity Assessment with the Michigan Manufacturing and Technology Center. Also, from there, we would encourage you to consider talking with NGA or the Economic Growth Institute about the $10,000 grant matching funds to implement Industry 4.0 technologies. In those conversations, we will talk more in depth about the financial and operational analysis. So, questions and answers. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. We do have a few questions, and I have a few questions that have surfaced in our previous conversations. So we're going to go through and answer some of these questions. And for the panelists, please feel free to answer the questions as I read them off. If we can have more than one answer, so I encourage you to engage and share if you have comments for those questions. So let's just take this last one here. Security is again in the news. If I invest in technologies, do I need to complete a cyber security audit to make sure my facility is protected? Who would like to take that? Maybe Eric, if I could call on you, since you spoke a bit about cybersecurity in your presentation.
Yeah, I can answer that. Companies we've worked with that have implemented cybersecurity, they generally don't have to perform an audit unless they are usually working like with the defense sector. So if they are working with the defense, there are certain certifications that they have to go through to make sure that their facility is up and running. But you don't necessarily need an audit per se to make sure that you are protected. You do need to do some research and understand basically where all the vulnerabilities are in your manufacturing space, and then also in the back office as well.
Would anyone else answer?
This is Bill. I would encourage if you have concerns around cybersecurity or needs that you have identified, the Cybersecurity Institute out of Marquette, connected with Northern Michigan University, would be a good place to start. It's they're getting up and running, and their desire, and I serve on that institute, but their desire is to really make things accessible and affordable for small businesses in the UP and make sure that there's good security for your system. So I encourage people to reach out to that if that's on your radar as a need.
Thank you. Other responses to the question? If not, we'll move on. Okay, let's see. Are there specific sectors of manufacturing that tend to gravitate towards new technologies, or do all manufacturing sectors have equal benefit from the Industry 4.0? Eric?
Yeah, I'll take that one again too. So, in our research with LTU, we found that it wasn't necessarily like different manufacturing sectors that gravitated towards each technology. It was more so where were the manufacturers on their Industry 4.0 journey. So those that were early in their journey kind of leaned towards more the physical side of it. So the additive manufacturing, industrial Internet of Things, robotics, things that are more related to the manufacturing floor that they can see and touch. Those were kind of the first places for companies to look at for Industry 4.0 technologies. As they start getting their feet wet and they start using other things, they start building those use cases to figure out, okay, how do we make better decisions? And that's where you see some of those later on in their Industry 4.0 journey, start looking at big data, artificial intelligence, modeling, simulation, and visualization, immersion. So not necessarily different manufacturing sectors that benefit from Industry 4.0 or the different sectors of Industry 4.0, but more so where are they at in their journey. Just kind of get a basic understanding of what makes most sense within their business.
Thank you, Eric. Any other panelists like to answer that? All right. So I am gonna, Betsy. Hi, Betsy.
Yes, two things. First of all, yes, I just wanted to jump in and say I definitely agree with Eric. I mean, every sector this is a new era, and every manufacturer needs to take a look at this. And I also wanted to say there was one other question that I hit under answered, and so I wanted to bring that back up. I wanted to make sure you saw that, Jen.
I will take a look at that. But while we have you, Betsy, I have a question because it surfaced in one of our other conversations. I recently toured a manufacturing facility with MMTC to see firsthand the technology opportunity assessments in action. And my question to you is, because it surfaced during that conversation as well, is MMTC with the manufacturer long-term? So the technology opportunity assessment is, you go in, you understand, you provide the results and the return on investment. But what happens after that? Could you share a little bit about, is there anything, what's next?
Sure, that's a great question, and thank you so much for asking it. So we're in this for the long haul. That is our mission, to help and assist medium and small size manufacturers. And what comes out of the report, so at the very end, when you do get the summary assessment report, it makes recommendations, but we are here along the way because it's looking at, yes, the technology side of things, but it's also getting other conversations going as well. What are your talent needs? What kind of training is needed? As far as, is there things like succession planning in place? So any of those tools that a business needs to be really looking at, we can assist with. So thank you for asking that. And
great, thank you so much. Let me jump to the answered question. Regarding the tech assessments, what is the time commitment? Do you mind sharing that right now?
Yes, so really the time commitment is about 4 to 6 hours. Really to walk through the steps real quickly. We start with what we call our transformational planner, which really gets you some great data. We've been using the transformational planner for over 20 years. It looks at process improvement, revenue growth, and industry benchmarking, and that takes about an hour. And I also wanted to Stephanie mentioned about the confidentiality piece of it, and that's very important to us. So all of this information is confidential. So Stephanie, thank you for bringing that up. So the transformational planner takes about an hour. Then we come on site, and that it takes about 2 really to 3 hours, where we do a tour of the facility. We need to know where the work is being done so that we can have those observations. And then afterwards, it's we'd like to have a conversation, and that's where key leadership, if they can be involved, because that's where we really want to understand, as far as leadership practices, workforce development, what kind of technology is working now or have you tried. So that on-site takes about 2 to 3 hours. And then we wrap things up coming back together in about a week or 2 later, and we do a debrief of the summary report. And that's where, again, we can talk about next steps and such, and really continue our collaboration. So that assessment summary is yours to get the conversation going and starting, and there's lots of eye openings that have happened during that. So hopefully that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. And then just one more question, and this is for Stephanie. And this came up last week in our conversations. Do manufacturers need to attend the webinars to access the implementation grants? Can they, I think the word used last week was leapfrog the webinars and just go right to the implementation grants? Could you share a little bit on that topic?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. We would really highly encourage everybody to attend the webinars, because there will be some great information presented regarding some of those technologies that are out there that some of the manufacturers may or may not be aware of. So we would highly encourage that. And if that can't happen, you can always reach out to us, and then we can see what next steps we can have without that. Does that answer it for you, Jen?
Yes, it most certainly does. Thank you so much. All right, well, I don't see that there are any additional questions, so we're gonna close out our session. Thank you for joining us today, both our participants as well as our panelists. We hope the informational session provided you with new insights into the Michigan's Industry 4.0 initiative. Please do consider taking one of the next steps we discussed today. All of us on the webinar are here because we desire to support you now and throughout your journey of learning about Industry 4.0 technologies. This recording and slide deck will be sent out to those registered. We'll also share more broadly with small to medium manufacturers in the Upper Peninsula and Northeast region. Feel free to share the content when you receive it via email to those that you're engaged with, either partners or manufacturers. Again, another thank you to the presenters and partners on the call, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.